Hello, everybody, and this is Dahlia on a Woke Wellness Wednesday. We're very, very excited. Hello. We got Randy Vision in the house. We got a couple people. Now is the time to start sharing the stream. We got Jason out of Detroit. What's up, my guy? We got Randy Vision out of LA, and we also have our co-host, as always, Alec Rabel. Welcome to the stream. Let's do this. Pew, 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 pew.
So excited to be here. Cannot wait to start this. We've been planning this out for a long time. The start of a 3-part episode. So we are so excited for this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to somebody that has been on the show before. He is a native LA Hollywood director. I cannot wait to introduce you guys. So please give a warm round of applause for Isaiah
Galarza.
Oh, I got so hyped and then I forgot the last name. I messed up.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Isaiah Galarza on opinion
Hello,
on
Dahlia.
modern dating. How are you?
Hello, Dahlia. How are you?
Hi. How are we?
What's
we
up,
meet
man?
again. So, last episode.
What's up, Alec? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. How about yourself?
Were you wearing those sunglasses last time?
Sunglasses? Where am I wearing sunglasses?
Or glasses?
To LA, just glasses.
Ooh, okay. Wait, hang on. I got you on that, man.
Looking for
All right,
sunglasses.
guys. Welcome to
looking for
Woke
sunglasses?
Wellness Wednesday. It's myself, Alec, and also Isaiah Galarza talking about the opinion of mental health of modern dating. If you have any men that need to tune in, now is the time. Please share the stream. We want to get in as many opinions as possible because this could go on for centuries, eons.
It has been going on for centuries.
I know. Well, longer than what we anticipated. We're going into 2025, my man. Okay, so who would like to ask the first question?
Ooh. You know what? I'll get the first question.
Okay, hit it.
So, when someone's going into a date, do you think there's something that we can be doing to prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, however, for the date itself, or do we just go in and
I know that as a guy, what we should be doing, well, men and women, what we should be doing is kind of curtailing our expectations of what we want this date to be. I know that a lot of guys are when they approach a woman like just cold on the street, a lot of men will have certain anxieties about approaching women, and that's because they have a preconceived notion of how they want this interaction to go. Oh, I want her to be my girlfriend. Oh, I want to get her number. Oh, I want to have sex with her. And so what we wind up doing is we kind of wind up sabotaging ourselves. Especially on a date, if we have preconceived notions of what we want to do. As we talked about last time I was here, I'm a first assistant director, and what I do is I schedule everything so that we follow a schedule of what needs to be shot when. And I apply that to itineraries on vacation or dating. But then, like on a film shoot, sometimes it just gets thrown completely out the window, and there's nothing you can do about it. It starts raining, you got to move locations, and then everything's the shit, and you just kind of like roll the punches. And I feel like that's the same way men and women have to approach going on a singular date. If I'm a guy, I'm like, okay, dinner, then a gallery opening, then maybe a club. Have a plan, but don't be afraid to throw that plan completely out the window. So when you approach a woman, when you cold approach a woman on the street, all you're doing is you're saying to yourself, I'm having such a fabulous day. I'm so happy in my energy. I want to share it with that pretty girl over there. And the same thing goes when you go on a date. I'm such a happy, wonderful day, having such a wonderful, happy day today. I want to share that with my date. And you just bring that energy to the date rather than, hey, hurry up, we're going to be late for the opera. Hey, hurry up, we're going to be late for whatever. And as a woman, you kind of have to have that same kind of energy, which I feel a lot of women are a lot better at that than men are, not sticking to the quote unquote plan, but just kind of rolling with the punches, not even rolling with the punches, but just being organic to your feelings and in the moment.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you go on a date, just check your expectations at the door. All you're doing is you're sharing your energy. That's all you're doing. That's the only goal you should have.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that that's one thing that a lot of guys are like struggling with is the fact that they're like, I have a plan. I know what line I want to use. I know like how I want to act cool around her. I know how I want to like come across as in this way, in this form. And then if the line doesn't work and if she's like, you, who are you? Or if she's like not picking up on the vibe that you're trying to give off on, then guys, self-confidence is diminished because they expected everything to go to plan exactly the way they expected to. But I think that's a really good.
They saw that scene in the movie in their head, and they don't want to go off script.
Right, but I think if things do go off script because you can't really predict how she's going to react every time. If it doesn't go the way you want to go, throw the plan out the window and improvise.
I'm just kind of curious. Have you ever been on a date where the woman was upset that it didn't go by the plan?
I know this woman was rather upset that I didn't go in for the kiss.
Oh.
Ooh.
We met at a comedy club in Brea, and there's a parking structure in there. And then we went somewhere else in her car. I forgot where. And then when we came back, I was sitting in the passenger seat and I said, well, that was fun. Thank you so much. And I gave her a nice hug and I got out. And my car was right there and she's sitting right there in the driver's seat and she's looking at me like, like that guff noise. And I'm like, I turn around and I'm like, hi. And she's not moving. Now, when a guy doesn't drive off, it's because he's being a gentleman and wants you to start your car and make sure there's no creeps waiting around because women do a million fucking things in the car before they actually move. Right,
right.
Well, it takes a minute. There's always two bags. I have two purses because I'm a psychopath. See, so how many
guys
got more than one purse? Okay.
Yep. So I would imagine sometimes your boyfriend is just sitting there waiting for you to take off. Like, come on, fuck, let's go. I want to make sure there's no creep going to come out in the middle. No. Anyways, but when a girl does it, something's wrong. You fucked up, buddy. And I turned around, and sure enough, she was looking at me like, "That's it." And I knew the look she was giving me. So I walked right back up to her. I stuck my head into the car, and I gave her the biggest French kiss I could have. And she was a happy camper thereafter.
And then you just ended it there, or what?
No, that was it. I wasn't going to go home with her. I wasn't feeling that vibe. But it was something she wanted. She was expecting, and it was kind of nice that she did want it. And it made me feel good. But to your point, I think when it comes to cold approach, I think a lot of guys don't understand that the rejection is not really a rejection of yourself. The girl, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dahlia, but a lot of girls don't reject a man because they don't like the guy or they don't see something interesting about the guy. A woman, and it took me a long time to get past this and to discover this, but a woman who rejects you may not be rejecting you personally. She may be avoiding the possible interruption of her present or perceived equilibrium.
She's afraid of peace?
No. She's already in her peace, and she doesn't really want a perceived interruption of that. So it's not a rejection of you personally or of me personally. It's just that I'm in my zone, and I don't really want to be distracted.
Yeah, I would say probably for a lot of women in Los Angeles, everyone's just trying to make it or make a career or make rent or make do or, get to the next whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's like taking time to go on a date and preparing yourself and all the other stuff. It's like you got to cut out time in your schedule to give it to a complete stranger to hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
Agree or disagree? Comment below. We want to hear from you, though. Okay. All right. Next question. I'll take it. What are your thoughts on what women think when they're going into a date?
That's anybody's guess, I think. But I think that one of the greatest things is if you actually if you Google tips for women on dating standards, Google AI has a list of 13 things women should do. Google AI put this together.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
Wait, let me do this right now. Let me do this right now. What am I doing?
I gotta see this.
Go to google.com and then look up tips for women's dating standards.
Women's dating standards. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe DiMaggio's and Marilyn Monroe's. Are you guys ready for the results?
13, and number 2 is keep an open mind. And I think that's so important.
Okay, be honest, keep an open mind, give respect, a huge one. Make the first move. Women can, okay. Don't overcomplicate things. Very unlikely. Cut down on the texting. The worst. Prepare on some topics. Oh, okay, ladies, or if you're in the stream, what are some conversations you had to prepare before going on a date? Curiosity struck. And then be true to yourself. Okay. And back to you.
So I think that if I had a best friend or a daughter or something, I would say that, women should never, ever lower their standards. But it is also imperative that women allow their standards to evolve.
Mind blasting, Russell. Okay.
In fact, there's a study done by Flirtini, which is a dating app. And they found, as published in the New York Post on March 7th, 2024, if you want to look it up, they found that 80% of women are now willing to lower their standards to find a mate.
Wow.
So we've kind of hit the other side of the pendulum swing where I think our toxic expectations have kind of been called out on, and we're starting to realize what they are. And men and women are starting to kind of need to compromise on those.
Yeah, we got to team up. AI's taking out all the jobs, and then we got to make sure that we afford the rent under one roof. I mean, am I wrong or what?
Well, but it's also come to the point where women oftentimes are making more than men.
And
so,
ladies, who's rolling in the bank? Comment so I can ask you to buy a sticker. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go,
Dahlia.
Send them some merch.
Shameless. I'm shameless.
Shameless.
Okay.
Shameless, like people wearing sweatshirts from their own brand.
Yeah, shameless. Absolutely.
Oh,
come on, man, show off. Show off.
Snap.
All right, we got the purple hoodies. We got the neon right behind me. We got the neon hoodies back there. We got the black. These are brand
There you go.
Open, brand new yellows. Ladies and gentlemen, now's the time. Brand new, out the bag. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's see. I would start with playing 20 questions to get to know the guy. The conversation always gets interesting.
There you go. See, that's a good plan.
Okay. All right. Question. What is your opinion on going to social media for advice?
That's like going to a drug dealer and asking, how do I get off this drug?
Oh, perfect. Okay, kind of like this. If you guys haven't seen it, it was just posted today. From the stream to the streets, we went ahead and took this topic. I'm just going to show you a little snippet, but we are definitely girl, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, I'm doing it. Oh yeah, we took it to the streets. Let's go.
Hello, I am on the streets with these lovely ladies. My name is Dahlia. What's yours? Raina or Ray?
Raina?
Chelsea.
Chelsea?
Dakari.
Jakari. Okay, I run the talk show, and we're going to be doing men and women's perspectives on dating. I have a question. In LA, do you think it's difficult to go on dates?
So we're all from Arizona, and honestly, I feel like LA has a very similar dating scene. to
I can't
Arizona.
believe I'm doing
In
this.
what sense? Not good. Consensus is not good. What do you feel? Okay, so all right, you guys will have to watch the rest of that. I was just pointing out that maybe people go to social media to get advice when it comes to dating. Obviously, we went to the streets to get people's opinions. There's going to be more of that coming along. But yeah, if you want to answer the question, what is your opinion on going into social media for advice?
I think that social media, well, the entire online ecosystem has really kind of democratized dating for both men and women. Unfortunately, it's kind of been a little skewed a bit. There was an OkCupid study that found that 45 or 85%, 80% of women found the majority of men as below average. And that's a very famous statistic that they ran. And but in the same statistic, they found that although they found 80% of men below average in terms of looks, a large percentage of those women who felt that way still messaged that 80% of men that they found to be below average. So
Women
the
were
looks,
reaching towards the totem pole. Go higher.
so that kind of gave a weird kind of perspective on the whole thing of online dating, where from the female perspective, a woman may not find you attractive, but that doesn't mean they're not going to date you. But people for the last 10 years have been focusing so much on the first part of that data that they fail to recognize the second part, nor do they realize that the rest of the study revealed that 66% of men only message the top most beautiful 33% of women. So, it kind of works both ways.
Interesting. So the women are going low for fishing and the men are going high for fishing, and somewhere we're going to meet in the middle and create a beautiful life.
That's the hope. That's the hope. But you know what's interesting?
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say what this reveals, and which is still true today, and I have another stat I can give you, but this introduced the notion of anonymized data, where you will give data as an anonymous source. However, your actions say something completely different. So right now, when it comes to online data, we're looking at anonymized data that doesn't actually get to be tied to an individual person. So you can say that I want a particular type of woman or a trad wife or something, or you can say, I want a man who's 6 feet, six-pack abs, but the reality is oftentimes completely different. And so when we look to social media for advice, we're seeing a very skewed version of anonymized data. Even if it's from other people on your own social media network, that anonymized data is kind of a wishful thinking, as it were, of what they want reality to be, but does not represent the truth of what reality is.
Yeah. Wow.
I think that the biggest detriment to the influence of social media is the advent of toxic expectations. And this goes back to what your expectations are when you go on a date. Toxic expectations usually come from 4 different things, and they're like 4 chapters of reasons or things that influence that. But the first thing is generational assumptions. It's almost like a generational trauma that we kind of inherit from, our parents and our grandparents. A real man is like this because that's how men were in the past. A real woman is like this because that's how they were in the past. And so we kind of bring that with us, those assumptions, generational assumptions, and that kind of skews these expectations that we have on a person we haven't even met yet. That's number one. Number two, in the wake of that online ecosystem, there's always the notion that there's someone else.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example. This past Saturday, I was invited to a play, which turned out not to be going on. Thanks, Anna. Appreciate that. But
You know Anna?
I do know Anna.
I know Anna.
Anyways, but what happened was, because I was already in the neighborhood, I had already looked up clubs around that place, and I found this hip hop club down the street called High Tide. That I thought was really, really kind of cool. And I went in there, and they played a bunch of hip hop music, and I never heard of this place. It was near the garment district, the packaging district, and it was a really cool club. They played a bunch of old school hip hop music. The DJ was really awesome. Well, while I was there, I met undoubtedly one of the most beautiful women I've ever met. And we linked up, we exchanged phone numbers, and we're talking to each other. And it's too soon to see where it's going to go with that. But the interesting thing is that she had never heard of that place either. Her and her friends were at the Broad and just started looking up, whipped out their handy phone, and found out what was going on near there. Otherwise, she never would have been at that club. And I found out about that club just whipping out my handy little phone, figuring out, well, what's around here. So it's through that online ecosystem that the two of us had access to each other, where we normally would never have had access to each other at any point in time in history.
Yeah.
So this has equalized men's ability to have access to lots of different women. Unfortunately, this ecosystem has also brought about the kind of subconscious notion that, well, there's always going to be somebody else better. There's always going to be somebody else other than the person I'm with. So it kind of lends itself to disposable relationships.
Yeah. Devastating reality.
I had somebody tell me the other day, we were talking about exes, and I was like, just if they're your ex, it just means that wasn't in the universe for you to have it. And he was like, or she is the girl for you. It was just the wrong time. And I was like, that's a devastating thought, because I don't know when the right time is. And he was like, thus is the game of dating.
Yeah.
You got to roll that dice.
I was doing the math, and the thing about disposable dating is what I call it, is the notion that there's always going to be somebody else. Like, this person's not perfect for me, so I'm just going to let them go because there's, other people out there. There's 8 billion people on the planet. 4 billion are men. Maybe about 1 billion are actually single, available men. If you had a 1-minute date looking for your person, and you decided to date all of them, it would take you something like over 1,000 years to find your person. So because of this ecosystem of disposable dating, we think there's something better out there, not realizing that TikTok, you're going to die someday. You don't have time to be looking around very much. People need to start evolving their expectations. Like I was saying earlier, men need to do this too, and start accepting people for who they are and how you can grow with that person, not necessarily having somebody to match your energy, match your freak, as it were.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a fantastic point too, because it's like, I think a lot of people waste time on social media taking advice when in reality it's not even advice. It's just what they've learned based on their own individual experience.
Which oftentimes is not the most healthy thing.
Well, it's an individual. It's based on an individual experience, not a shared experience. And even if there are commonalities between two people's experience, it doesn't mean it's applicable in both realms.
One of the things I noticed, and this is point number 3 of the 4 things that influence our toxic expectations, is this notion that stability is misinterpreted as stagnation. When you finally meet someone who's stable, when you finally meet somebody who's, got, all their emotional faculties in order, we tend to think of consistency with boredom. there's a wonderful scene in this movie about Babe Ruth when he finally gets married and settles down. This is before television, and they're up at night, and the wife is just knitting something, and Babe Ruth is like pulling his hair out because he's so fucking bored. Like, he doesn't know what to do. He's used to going out and partying and having all these loose women, and all of a sudden he's at home doing nothing, and he doesn't know what to do himself. And I think a lot of people have that same kind of mentality. We think that, a good relationship is this high energy, this high pulsing butterflies in your stomach. And that's not what it is. A real relationship is actually very, very serene. But people have had a toxic lifestyle, as modern society would entail. And all of a sudden, finding somebody in a stable relationship with a stable person, they think that that's not who they are, that they need to go find themselves outside of that relationship.
Sure.
And stability is very boring, or it can appear to be when you're used to that toxicity, that rush of toxic relationships.
Damn, you're hitting the nail on the head on these, and I don't want to say nothing because I might embarrass myself.
I got out of what I would consider my first toxic relationship a few months ago, and I was like, I don't like knowing that this is what a toxic relationship is. And now I know about what all my other friends were talking about when they said they were in a toxic relationship. I now know what they went through. And I don't know, it was like a moment of self-reflection where I'm like, oh man, I had no idea it was like that bad for them. And toxic relationships, and talking about like what happened and what made them toxic, I don't like how trendy it is on social media to just like air out dirty laundry. That's why I would say it's a horrible idea to go to social media for advice, because you're just gonna find the drama. Because people just want views. They don't actually want to help people out typically.
They want their own personal admonishment, and that's another point too. I understand what you said about the it's very en vogue right now to signify a relationship as quote unquote toxic. But I think when you're a narcissist and you're the toxic person, you will turn around and identify that toxicity as such, rather than what it is, an affront to your ego. A narcissistic person, or a person who is toxic themselves, will view a relationship as toxic rather than what it really is, which is someone having boundaries, someone respecting themselves, and someone who is not going to put up with your ego. And I think that's part of what makes a good relationship long term, is the suspension of ego, which is very hard to do if you grew up with social media being your third parent.
Yeah.
That's a tough
that's why I feel so bad for the younger generations, is because
You are the younger generation. Shut up. How old are you? God, yeah, you're looking like, are you youngins? You little whippersnappers, you?
Your third parent iPhone.
Anyway, the younger generations.
What are you, an iPhone 5?
An iPhone 5?
15 Pro Max. Yeah.
I don't even remember when I got my first phone. It was like well into high school that I had my first phone. I didn't grow up with that kind of technology. But but like the people in high school right now, and grade school, and even elementary school are growing up with it. Yeah. And it's like they're not going to go to their parents for advice. They're going to go on TikTok.
That's the problem. The social media breeds that kind of disinformation, that kind of toxicity, because like you were saying earlier, this is predicated upon individual experience, not what's best for society as a whole.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's very interesting seeing how technology and the use of technology in parenting has changed over time, and how that's influenced the relationship between the parent and the child over time.
Not sure if you guys saw that horror movie. This goes out to everybody, but it's called Afraid, and then it has AI and then Afraid. I saw it and I was thoroughly terrified. It was
Yeah.
basically like if the AI seeked revenge for you in your house and knew too much.
Mm.
This is coming.
Whoa.
From Anna Karim Bisiel. I don't have toxic expectation. I think it's better to live the present and see if you enjoy the company of the person that you are with. But if not, it's okay to hang out with others. You also can't be stuck with one person and be waiting for them to change. But I also think it's important to have communication.
Indeed. Yeah.
Indeed, that's why we're here. Let's go on to the next question, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Alex?
but you know what? The last thing I wanted to say, the last thing that informs our toxic expectations is a lack of understanding of the new economic realities. The buying power of $1 US was worth 15 in 1945. And that comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So the buying power of a dollar over the last 75 years has actually gone down 15-fold since the end of World War II. And do you know what happened at the end of World War II?
Go on, Professor.
You had a whole plethora of women who were called to jobs because the men were overseas fighting. And then after World War II, a whole swath of these women did not want to go back to the home. They wanted to stay in the workforce. They liked working at factories. They liked working at shops. They liked being a part of this family that was not their own. They had best friends. They had a community, and they didn't want to go back. Flash forward to the 1980s and 90s, you have an entire generation of women who were becoming lawyers and doctors and bankers and really coming into the workforce. Now, the issue with that, with what feminism brought, is that it brought us a lot of unforeseen results subsequent to that. Feminism is one of the greatest things in the world, especially something that the world is the greatest things that humanity has ever seen. In fact, one of the greatest philosophers of our time, Christopher Hitchens, said that the way you is the way that you bring a third world country out of its slums is the emancipation and equalization of women. That's the only way you're going to get a third world country to get out of its rut. And he's absolutely right. That's absolutely true. However, the more women entered the workforce, the less jobs were available to men. So you had a bunch of women vying for the same jobs that traditionally men would have: doctors, lawyers, bankers, and so forth. And so what that happened was when the employers would see two different people or twice the population vying for the same jobs, regardless of what you might think of the gender pay gap, which you just brought up, and we'll check that out in a minute later on. But regardless of what you think about that, you have an entire generation of people in addition, or vying for the same jobs in addition to the men. So the employers had no incentive to raise the rate of pay for any of their employees, whether they were men or women. In fact, they actually tried to lower them, which is where you get the government coming in saying, well, no, the minimum wage is this. You can't go below that. Otherwise, I would have hit the floor. So how this informs toxic expectations, the economic resources that I have to court a woman is 15 times less than what my grandfather had when he was courting my grandmother. So if you're going into a date and you're expecting the man to pay for everything, that's fine. But understand that you got that opinion from a generational assumption of the way men acted in the past. That's not the economic reality anymore. I don't have the same money my grandfather had. I don't have the same economic resources that my grandfather had. So if you want me to pay for the date, you need to understand what that means. And most people never think about that.
True.
Ladies, are you thinking about your man's pocket while you ask him to go to Saddleback Ranch on Sunset? I don't think so. Here is the gender pay gap over time. And I guess the data that Isaiah is talking about is how women make 99 cents for every $1 the man makes. But we got all the toxic expectations. I think now's a good time to go into the next question. Oh my God, is online dating ruining the dating scene?
I don't. It's definitely changing it, and unless you know what that change is, you're gonna kind of be left in the dust. It's almost like, when some of us were kids, writing book reports, we had to read the fucking book. The kids nowadays will just go and kind of get the Cliff Notes version online and then create a book report predicated on that. And it's the same thing. Online dating, or the ecosystem, the online ecosystem that I was talking about, has really equalized men's ability to have access to several different women. And I gave you the example of that, meeting this girl last Saturday. Unfortunately, that's worked also on the opposite direction. I have a friend, very beautiful girl, amazing woman. I'm going to hang out with her sometime soon. And she was telling me about one of her weekends last month. And what she did was, between Badoo and Grindr, bisexual men on Grindr, she had sex with 16 different men in one weekend. And she even rejected 2 guys. 18 men showed up at her doorstep. She rejected 2 because their penis was not big enough. And we see women like that on TikTok, where women will be bragging about having one person a day for an entire year, and some oftentimes exceed that. So even though even though the online ecosystem has democratized or increased the ability for your average guy to have access to women they wouldn't have had access otherwise, it's also allowing the few women who actually don't mind having a high body count to just fly off the planet. So you kind of need to understand the new reality of what this brings to us. And if you're not aware of it, then you're going to be very, very disappointed. And if you don't enact it in your own life, then you might get left in the dust, and you'll be one of these red pill MGTOW guys who just, don't know what to do. And so they're just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not dating any women at all. Or you'll turn into a passport bro and be like, I can't find real women in America, I'm going to go to the Philippines, or what have you.
I think my dad's business partner did that, and he's very happy, but he was definitely the overweight cyber nerd that, just kind of stuck to the corner, and then he somehow got like SSI to still pay him in the Philippines or something crazy. And he's got a family and kids. I don't know. Okay, so there's names for this. Holy moly.
Yeah,
so wait,
3 movements.
Explain to me this character. She just had like the dating app ready and then was looking at the junk and was like, you pass, you don't pass, green light, red light.
Yeah. Wow. And that's how easy it is. And like I said, we see a lot of TikTok girls. Oh yeah, there was a TikTok girl. She actually had a line of about 15 men. She was videoing this, just their feet. But there was 15 men in her dorm down the hallway. They were all waiting to have sex with her. In fact, there's a famous porn star whose name I forget, Asian porn star. Before she started porn, she would go to frat parties and just say to all the guys, hey, I'll be in the closet. Whoever wants to fuck, come see me. And she'll go through 10 or 12 guys a night.
Wow.
So now that we have, this online ecosystem, those numbers can really bulk up.
See, and that's scary, because that's when the STDs and the pap smears and the,
Yeah.
Oh, terrifying. Okay.
So that's what this so this ecosystem has unintended effects. As we said with feminism, you have the unintended effect of what I had mentioned earlier. But then you also have the flip side of it, where you have men, 3 major movements of men kind of saying no to dating. You have the MGTOW guys who are giving up on women altogether. You have the red pillars who will not get married, but they still want to have sex with women. And then you have the passport bros who are just going to Brazil or the Philippines or places like English-speaking places like Africa to find a traditional woman who, assumingly, has a very low body count.
Wow.
I think it's Dave Chappelle, but I wondered because his wife is a Filipino woman who has no social media. and obviously you're with a social media influencer. You get what I mean? So like, obviously you need that juxtaposition between someone that's completely online and then
There's a balance.
your home base.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's economic realities that were unintended from feminism, and then there's
She didn't have time to wash her sheets, bro.
I don't know. I'll ask her. But
there's a thing called dude wipes. I heard, it's kind of
dude
like
wipes, yeah.
hobo shower. You know what I mean? And she
Yeah.
had to buy a triple pack of hobo wipes from the Costco before going into the closet.
Like I said, no disrespect to her. She got what she wanted. That's what she wanted, and online media enabled her to do that. So there's no shade on her. Like I said, she's a wonderful, amazing woman, and I love her to death. And that's what she wanted to do. So, so that's what I mean. That the unintended effect of that online ecosystem allows for that, good. But then the counter reaction to that are the three movements that guys are doing or are following, and that'll give rise to idiots like Dan Bilzerian or Andrew Tate, who are like toxic, but fed up with the same things that we're fed up with, And somebody said something great. Well, the expectations of being a traditional man are still there, even though the reality of being that traditional man is not really facilitated. Quote, the problem with feminism in the post-Me Too world is that feminists will never say they want a man to take charge and lead, but they still expect it.
It's wow.
Wait, say that one more time.
The quote is, the problem with feminism in the post-Me Too world is that feminists will never say they want a man to take charge and lead, but they still expect it.
Yeah, why can't you read our minds?
You know who said that?
Oh, okay.
Ladies,
right.
if you're in here, drop us an emoji.
No. Don't encourage her behavior.
Oh, encourage me. Rawr. Okay.
You want to know who said that?
Who?
He said something we can all agree on, and this is absolutely true. Matt Walsh.
I should know what that means, right?
Fucking Matt Walsh said that.
Okay,
wait,
now
wait, sorry, I might be ignorant, but who's Matt Walsh again?
I'm looking it up right now in case I don't know.
He's
American comedian and actor?
He's a super right-wing conservative Fox News guy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Oh, I thought it was this guy in these movies.
No, not that guy.
Oh, okay.
Someone else.
All right.
Wrong Matt Walsh.
Okay, if you guys are still in the stream, thank you guys so much for joining. I can't believe it. We have an astonishing amount of people in here. I love it. Tell us your online dating horror stories and might pop up on the screen. Okay, we're about to go into a quote from you, Isaiah. Alec, take it away.
So one thing that you and I talked about, and this is something that really stood out to me, you have a quote that I have not been able to stop thinking about, and it is 80% of men are rejected 100% of the time.
Yes, that comes from a 2009 OkCupid study that found that women rate 80% of men as, quote, below average. And we're talking about anonymized data. The reality is that many of those same women still message those below average men. And we've been touting that for the last, since 2009, so almost 15 years. And that data really hasn't changed. But that same study from back in 2009 also stated, it revealed that 66% of men only message the top 33% of women. So it turns out that within a certain margin of error, that women are seemingly just as shallow as men are when it comes to looks and presentation. And I think what's interesting about that, there's an influencer named Adrienne Ray, who famously said, men are not attractive until you get to know them. On the opposite side of the spectrum, women are very attractive until you get to know them.
Ooh.
Oh! Well, I think that my personality perseveres outside of this hoodie. I don't know how I feel about this quote. Ladies, you're genuine, you're beautiful, inside and out. Drop me a heart emoji. Damn. He is.
I don't know where this French accent's coming
Yes, I really get rejected by all the girls I really like. True.
Parlez-vous français?
Ah.
Parlez-vous français? Now,
I
the
don't
interesting, now a more relevant statistic, because the OkCupid thing is 2009, like, and it's one of those things that, yeah, it was true at the time and it still feels true. But Morgan Stanley Research did something pretty amazing. They found, and this is true, this is only the first part, that 41%, as of 2018, 41% of women 25 to 44 are both single and childless. That's a 2018 data. Okay?
Yeah.
41%. By 2030, that number will increase to 45%. Now we're halfway to 2030. And the way we're looking now, that statistic may change. It may be anywhere from 50 to 55% of women will be single and childless in between the ages of 25 and 44.
Oh my God, doomsday! I don't like these quotes at all. Oh. Brutus.
Yeah. Now,
All right,
what,
ladies, we got to go out there. We got to do more street interviews, and we just got to change the paradigm. Okay, this is the plan. Thank you for tuning in. You had no idea that there was a post agenda. Oh my goodness, great
now,
shit.
The interesting thing about that statistic is that what Morgan Stanley Research Group was doing was they were trying to pinpoint spending patterns and I guess goals of certain demographics. And the numbers told that particular research group that women of that age range were more interested in solidifying their financial acuity and also their careers above and beyond relationship and motherhood, which also, from an anthropological standpoint, is the complete polar opposite of what humanity has done in the past. If you look at the comfort level of your average middle class person, in the ancient world, in the ancient like Han Dynasty or ancient Greece, ancient Rome, rich women had the same quality of life as your modern woman in today's society. Now, in ancient times, a woman was expected to be married and start having kids by the time they were 13, if not younger. That meant that by the time they were 35 or 40, they were done having a family and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yes.
In fact, we even know that, the line from Gladiator where rich matrons pay well to be satisfied by the greatest of gladiators, that was true en masse. You were done having your family at the age of 35, you could go fuck whoever you wanted. It doesn't matter. There's even stories about an empress in ancient Rome who would leave the palace and go to a whorehouse just to fuck guys all night because that's what she was into. And she could do it because she was done having her family. She did her bit for king and country and she was done. Now it's backwards. Now we're telling women from the age of consent, 18 and up, no, don't have a family when you're physically primed to do it. Go work on your career. Go work on your bank account. Go work on all these other ancillary things. And then later, when you're 30 or 35, then you can start worrying about family. Well, by then, biology has already taken place. Your brain is already hardwired to reject certain ideologies, to reject certain men. So what Morgan Stanley found was that humanity is entering, at least in the first world countries, humanity is entering a phase where we're taking our biology and we're reproductive elements and we're doing a complete 180 on them. And we don't know where that's going to leave us. We know that China is going to collapse in less than 10 years because what they did was a bit of social engineering where they actually killed the second daughter. or they wouldn't allow the second daughter to be born. Now you have nothing but men that are coming in a generation, and they're not getting married. And what's happening now is they're not producing enough babies to replace the older generation that are going to die off in the next 5-10 years. So China's economy is going to collapse very, very rapidly, very, very soon. That's why you see the desperation for them to create economic ties with Russia, with North Korea, anybody in the region who accepts their particular brand of, dictatorship.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll definitely bring up serious topics that get us brain cooking. Hello, Tricks. Welcome to the mix.
Welcome to my
80%
world.
of men are rejected 100% of the time.
Indeed.
Does everybody agree, disagree? Go ahead, drop your comment. Ooh, my favorite, Tricks, now that you're here. Ah! Okay, astrology signs. Bullshit? I don't think so. Or real shit? I think so.
What's your sign, Dahlia?
Oh, Virgo.
Virgo. And what do they do?
Analytical, critical, opinionated, usually right. Perfectionist. Yo, what's up? We got the Virgo gang right here. This guy is the mastermind. Blah, 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 blah. I know. This is why we bring the heavy hitters. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe.
What about you, man? What's your sign?
We got Virgo. We got Taurus. Drop your signs in the comments if you're still here. I want to feel like you have a pulse. Tell us what it is.
Nice.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think that I have a particular philosophy of this, and do you know how things on Earth are very much influenced by things outside the Earth, like the moon really does influence the tides of the ocean. The Earth is a very, very fragile place, which is why it's very important for us to kind of really take care of our environment, by the way. However, what we found is a new field of study that it's at its infancy, no pun intended. It's called prenatal psychology. And basically what that is, and it's been, the theory has been around for a few years, but basically what prenatal psychology presupposes is that certain things that happen to you as a preborn person influence how you come out. And a lot of people are kind of looking at, some traumas that certain types of criminals have had while they were still inside their mother. It's a very, very new study, but because of the gravitational forces that actually are influence on the Earth, how do we know that some of these astrological influences don't influence your personality depending on when you pass through the birth canal or depending on when you're conceived? So depending on where you are in position to the sun, which might be closer or farther, depending on where season you are, where Jupiter was, their gravitational influence on us, where the moon was, how was it in position when you were born? How do we know that those astrological events cannot create an indelible personality trait on you?
You got to look at the whole natal chart, okay? When you were born, it was an IP address, and all the stars were in constellation into which house, okay? Just have to own it and be confident. Be confident. Not all men get rejected 60% of the time. Wait, we were talking about astrology. Hold on. Yeah, my whole take on astrology is that an IP address was created when you were born, in which case the houses were in certain positions, and there's a whole lot more than just obviously your sun sign. Also, tonight is a new moon. It's very interesting that we landed on this day. So something about the new moon in Libra and about actually on the topic of yes, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm very heavy into astrology. I don't know if you guys know this. Obviously, if you know me, you know. But I lost my mom and my brother, and then we tattooed the Neptune for my brother. He was a Pisces. That's what rules Pisces. And then my mom was a Scorpio, and then I'm a Virgo. And then if there was a Gemini, which is Anna, this Mercury sign rules Virgos and Geminis.
Nice.
Uh-huh. Jess, Jess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I've dated girls in the past who were like huge into astronomy, and they go.
It's astrology, not astronomy.
They could go. Yeah,
Bad.
they could go like hours into astrology, and they could go hours into like what did the signs mean, and what do these dates mean, and if you're this time, that time, and they can go into extreme detail.
You can nerd out.
They didn't.
But
But
guys in Star Wars.
They didn't even. Yeah, and they did. But like they didn't even believe for themselves that it was actually true. But they knew all the facts.
Yeah, true.
So there's some people who do believe it and take it to heart, and there's some people who just find it interesting, preach what it means to other people, and they're like,
I think it also depends, right? Like, were you the firstborn? Were you the lastborn? Are you a middle child? You know, obviously, were you grown up in the hood, or were you like given, the silver spoon and you're Paris Hilton's kid? I don't know. It all kind of takes into account. Like, you know what I mean? That kid is very, very fortunate. I feel bad for his forehead size, but that kid is never going to have a problem. I'm sorry, Paris Hilton's kid. I feel bad. You know what? I didn't mean to say that today. Today I said it. Damn, I went there.
Oh my God.
I know, I'm horrible. All right, who's in here a firm believer in astrology? Obviously, we're on a Woke Wellness Wednesday, but it is called Stay Woke or Not. So, we're all very for the bullshit, or is it real shit? Obviously, we're here to hear your opinions. Go ahead, drop it in there. Next question. Men want respect when they can't have love. What do you mean by that?
This quote speaks to me a lot, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts, Isaiah.
Love is a very cosmopolitan concept in today's society. It's very, very new. It's almost an economic pastiche of that kind of.
I like that word, economic pastiche.
Yeah, it's because Hallmark is trying to sell love.
Right.
De Beers is trying to sell love. What is happiness with a woman? It's love, and but in humanity's past, love wasn't really at the forefront of a relationship, not at the beginning. You were lucky if you found love with your person that you were betrothed to after the fact you were married. That was a very, very positive bonus to marriage, but that was not a prerequisite of marriage. And so what we found is, anthropologically speaking, you found that both men and women kind of fell back to their default, which is women would say, I don't need love as long as I was being taken care of. And men would say, I don't need love as long as I'm respected.
Okay, wait, for the women out there, would you say that love is being taken care of?
No. What I was saying is that in the past, relationships between people who were not in love when they first got married, the default setting, the backup, or the secondary prize was, well, if I'm not in love with my husband, or if I don't find love in our marriage, and after like 20 to 30 years, at least I'm being taken care of. On the flip side, men, if they don't fall in love with the wives, or if they don't fall in love with their betrothed after a couple of decades, they would immediately fall back on, well, at least I'm respected. Yeah. So those two things, being respected is important. Being taken care of is important. Whoever occupies the female or the masculine in a relationship. But
Yeah.
Those things are secondary to.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though, due to the fact that women have become more independent and ultimately, like, we have to just work as hard as a man, that you end up dating women that are very feminist, or essentially just women that are like, okay, I'll take the tab, and then does that leave you like confused as to what your role is?
Ask me who pays for a date.
Who pays for a date?
The one who's in charge.
Ah, the upper hand.
So I've dated quite a number of. Well, living in LA, you meet quite a number of women who are very, feminist driven, who have that kind of like that modus operandi of I'm a boss babe, I'm gonna take care of myself, and a man is just a really amazing accessory. But of those women that I've dated, what I've seen, I was dating this beautiful woman, and she was very well for herself. She was had a great career, and she had all things going for her, but she still wanted a traditionally masculine man. And the problem was her particular political beliefs stated that she was equal with a man in every single facet. And she dated men who believed that as well. Well, after a few years of this, she became very, very tired of that aesthetic. And she just wanted a man, to be a real man, traditional man. Unfortunately, in LA, you're surrounded by men who have been indoctrinated with a very strong feminist ideology. And so the notion of a man taking charge, like I said earlier, taking the lead, taking charge is very foreign to some modern men. So it's, again, that's another unintended effect of feminism. As great as feminism is, as much as we needed it, what it's done is it's caused men to kind of take the back seat when it comes to taking charge, taking the leadership position in a relationship.
If you're a beta, say hey. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. No one's actually going to admit it. Get over yourself. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a lot of pills to swallow. Okay, I'm sure we all have our opinion on this. If you're still in here and you have a pulse, go ahead. Red or green flags, bullshit or real shit.
So I just wanted to go back to the notion. What happened with this girl was that the girl I was dating was that she was, like I said, she was very fed up with the dating scene in Los Angeles. And I've met a few women who really, really enjoy the fact that a guy every once in a while will come around and just take charge, would approach them with out of a sea of other women in a club and just be really, really I don't want to say grateful, but just, really, really found it refreshing, I should say, that a man would approach them just out of nowhere, because that doesn't happen. I'm interested to know what your opinion is on this, Dahlia.
Wait, hold on. This is a whole thing. If men approach women anymore?
Well, that's part of it. That's part of being in your masculine energy. And a lot of times men are afraid of being in that masculine energy because of the feminization of our society. I don't mean becoming feminine. I mean the feminist ideology that prevails. A lot of times, men and women will take a look at that feminist ideology and be like, well, okay, I have no right to want a masculine man. I have no right to be in my feminine energy, because, like you saw in that TV show, Fleabag, she thought she was a bad feminist because she wanted to be in her feminine energy. And I think a lot of women, especially in Los Angeles, at least, kind of feel that same way.
It's 2024. Some men don't have game anymore. Yeah, Isaiah, you might needed to create an instruction manual based on this episode, and we're just gonna transcribe it.
Daywalker, not masterclass.
Yo,
No problem.
a whole new paradigm shift. Okay, if you guys want Isaiah to release a master class, you need to let us know right here in the now. It's about to happen. I'm with you, brother. Yeah. Do men have game? Okay, so wait, hold on. What is the question again to me personally?
What do you think about men feeling that they should not take charge? Not that they don't want to, but that they should not take charge.
I think that's a cop out. I think that's a cop out.
But you look at what feminism tells us, you are equal to us. We should not be so presumptuous as to think that you would talk to us.
I think any woman, through the expectations of film and the world we live in, yeah, full simp mode. You know what I'm saying?
But
Yeah.
if you are a feminist, why won't you approach the guy? See, that's the problem.
Actually, to be fair, I did approach Randy. I did. And I did it in a very like nonchalant way. I did it in a whole like, you could just answer the question, but you might not dodge me, right? So like I said, hey, you look like you know where food is. And then he led me to the food. And then it's almost 2 years later. So that
Food.
yeah, I got to the food.
A true love story, Dahlia.
Hey, just keeping it neutral. Like you
That's a
can't really deny me.
That's such a genuine story of meeting somebody, though. You look at your food is.
God, that's funny.
Yeah, I'll try your food, but can we date for 2 years after this?
Hey.
There you go. Whatever works. But see,
I
that's
coming from an alpha female perspective, and I'm always alpha, and I don't like it. There's definitely friends in my history where I'm like, dude, how did you get that guy to do that? Or like, how did you like get so and so to do what for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then using that feminine power to get what they wanted. I never had that. I'm just like, I'm too much of like a tomboy, quote unquote. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, most of my friends are guys. Okay, take it as it is. But yeah, I think it's difficult. I think deep down, even I know Andrea's in here, and I know we also have Anna, but if you ladies have anything to comment, go ahead, answer the question as well. But as far as just, even if we're alpha and we're putting on that portrayal, some people had a rough childhood and have to be that way in order to survive.
right.
Yeah, totally.
True. Yeah.
I was just raised by a very strong woman where my dad would pay off judges and my mom had to go to court in a laundry basket full of her own, here we go. Brandon, feminism is about equal respect for women, but I don't think it changes the norms of dating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Jordan Peterson, regardless of what you might think about the guy, began to speak about the egalitarian dynamic in countries of Northern Europe, like Norway and Switzerland and whatnot. And what he was saying is that the more egalitarian a society becomes in those countries, Sweden being one of them, the more appreciative of the gender norms that society becomes. Now, the problem is in Sweden, girls will approach guys and buy them a drink. In Sweden, girls don't like it when guys open the door for them.
What?
Yeah. So Americans go out there, try to be a gentleman, and they're just like, oh, fuck you. And they're like, what is going on?
Weird.
Whereas, like I was saying with Matt Walsh, his quote is like, the problem with feminism is that they'll never say they want a man to take charge, but they still expect it. In fact, when a man does that and kind of flops on it, he is put down because of it. And not only that, but there's an economic reality that I was saying earlier. My economic resources are not the same as my grandfather's economic resources when he was courting my grandmother. So we might want the norms to be the same, even though feminism is about respect. And feminism has brought great things to this country, as I've stated earlier. But the dating norms, the dating expectations have changed. Whereas if you're the woman and you're making more money than I am, do I really need to pay for everything? Do I still need to pay for everything? If you're a feminist boss babe, why don't you pay for everything? You know, so there is that expectation of you're in equal, you're you know, of the same economic stripe as I am, if not more, if not a greater capacity for it. Yet the man, because I pee standing up, I have to pay for everything. Like that to the red pillars, to the MGTOWs, to the passport bros, that doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
Do you have an answer for this? Why are feminists so angry?
I think the perception is that feminists are angry. The reality is feminists are just frustrated. And I think a lot of the times it comes down to how you communicate. I think a lot of times, and I don't think a lot of women are aware of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dahlia, women don't say what they mean. They say what they feel.
Somebody had to say it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an empath and I feel too much, and I probably am saying the wrong shit in the first place when really I wanted to get to the first point and I said the third point. Somebody in high school told me that. They were like, dude, you always come in at the third sentence. And I was like, I don't know how to fix that. Like, how do I fix that? Oh, is this because of feminism or because of media?
Again, media influences our expectations, and our expectations can be very, very toxic. But to what Dahlia was saying, yeah, that might be true. How women predominantly, not everyone, but predominantly women communicate, whereas men, on the other hand, we're trying not to express our emotions. We're trying to keep our emotions at bay because men and our testosterone were so aggressive. If we start displaying our emotions, women are going to freak out. So men are intentionally trying not to say what we feel. We're trying to say what we mean, by contrast of what the majority of what I think women might be doing at the same time. So, and just as a man, I've heard a lot of women complain that their men are kind of like these stones. They don't show an emotion. And they get really pissed off at their man for not, showing any kind of emotion. And it's like, you don't want to see my emotions. You don't want to see me angry or sad, or you don't want to see me cry. You'll lose respect for me. I'll lose respect for myself. And if I let myself take my emotions, be free with my emotions, the world is going to be havoc. Because guys, I think, intrinsically express their emotions in a completely different way. And again, Dahlia, correct me if I'm wrong here. It seems like when women are overcome with emotions, they tend to go inside, internalize, curdle up into a little ball, and just self-destruct from the inside out. Men go outside. We fuck up with everything. Our aggression gets pointed at every which way, and we don't destroy ourselves inside. We destroy ourselves by destroying our world outside.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely get self-destructive. Totally. I just and then I go a little bit mute, catatonic. I don't really want to vocalize it, and then I'm over analyzing. Yep, self-destruct.
Yeah, true.
A little bit of self-destruct didn't hurt too, buddy. No way. Well, so Brandon wants to know, what is the happy medium to this?
This is a completely this guy who's like one of these Andrew Tate followers. He's completely narcissistic. I forget the guy's name, but he's so super narcissistic. He's so super misogynistic. He's one of these idiots who just actively just says, I cannot commit to any one woman. I'm just not wired that way. He's been on the whatever podcast and just a real piece of shit. But the one good thing he said is that I, as a man, have to be the mountain that my woman's emotions can wash. Can the waves of my woman's emotion can crash against. And I'm like, that's actually true. I need to be the mountain that my woman's emotions can crash her waves on.
That's so poetic.
Yeah.
We've been stuck on this one for quite a bit, and I can't believe we're over an hour, but we're about to get a little hot and heavy with this one. Red flags or green flags, bullshit or real shit. Did you answer this already, or am I tripping?
No.
We went back.
Okay, go ahead. Red flags or green flags? Like my nails.
Your green nails. That's right. You have green nails.
Did you plan that?
Yeah.
No, not really.
She did. Yeah, she did.
No,
No,
Okay,
she did.
okay,
She did.
okay.
Don't listen to her. Don't listen to her.
I think the red flags versus green flags are dependent on who you are as a person and your trauma as an adolescent. But then there's also biology that also brings this about, and your biology will always take center stage above and beyond what your psychological makeup is. And I'll give you an example. And Dahlia and I talked about this. There was a Swiss scientist named Klaus Wedekind in 1995 studied the MHC gene. Based on pheromones, women were more sexually attracted to men with a greater diversity of the MHC gene than from their own. So the MHC gene is what allows a greater diversity for your offspring to be able to combat diseases as they grow up. So the greater diversity of this gene that you find in your mate, in your man, the greater chance your child has of surviving. And this guy found that women can sense a greater diversity in men based on their pheromones. Based on a man's smell, a woman can detect whether or not that man has the MHC gene code that would give their child an optimal chance of survival. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This experiment was separated in two groups of women who were on the pill and women who were not on the pill. The women who were not on the pill, based on pheromones alone, chose men with a greater MHC diversity. Thereby, they were a greater match for their child. The women on birth control almost never chose the right guy.
Whoa.
Not gonna lie, there was totally a dude in high school that I only liked because he smelled good. Years later, kind of not into it whatsoever. Like at the time, it was just a scent thing.
So there's two things you can look at this way at. Number one, it's your biological diversity that will allow your children to have a greater chance of survival that dictates your sexual attraction. You have nothing to do with it. It's nothing that the guy does that can bring about your sexual attraction other than his biology. The other hand is women who are on the pill do not choose the right men. So any woman out there watching this that got engaged while they were on the pill, get off the pill for a few months. See what happens. See if the relationship lasts.
See if y'all even in love with the person that gave you the ring if you're on the pill. That's scary.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's scary.
But yeah, so in terms of red flags or green flags, those terms don't apply because your emotional trauma growing up dictates what's a red flag or what's a green flag. Your exploration of yourself, how at peace you are with yourself, will dictate what's a green flag or a red flag. And none of it fucking matters because your sexual energy with that person is going to supersede whatever you think a red flag or a green flag is.
Yeah, Anna said, is it okay to have both flags? We're human, but have in mind the green flag's way more. And then Miranda, are you willing to put up with certain flags to make a relationship work? Let's get real here. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, so there was an article in the New York Post that came out. Actually, you can look this up. March 7th, 2024. There was a relationship therapist that said that women are have these red flags and they're using them to their detriment. The two things that are non-negotiables that she said, and I forget this girl's name, but you can look it up, March 7th, 2024, New York Post. She said the two things that are non-negotiable, your political beliefs and how you rear children. Those are the only things that are non-negotiables in her list.
Her list.
That reminds me, yeah, my cousin was trying to date this chick, but then they had a totally different ideation on if they should grow up in the hood or not, and then ultimately led to the demise of the relationship. Yep. I think at the end of the day, women seek out a man who can provide and protect, and they're attracted to men who carry themselves with a lot of self-confidence.
I think those two things are one and the same. You know, if we've seen some in anthropological data across the planet, it seems that women are more attracted to men who carry themselves with confidence because that shows that they can handle situations as they arise and thus provide a better life and better safety for both themselves, the woman, and their offspring. So say what you will about feminism. If a guy can kick the shit out of another guy, chances are you're going to go with him over the limp-wristed, blue-haired, whatever, who says all the nice things that you want to hear.
National Geographic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We see it all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe we're in an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, this is the very last question or second to last question. Oh, okay. Second to last question. Okay. Do us a favor. Alec, take the question. Or answer statement.
Oh, yeah. So, one thing that you and I discussed on the call when we were talking about questions was the concept between absolute truth and relative truth when it comes to just in general, let alone when it comes to what it means to date properly. Because there's the absolute truth where it's like, this is always going to be true, and relative where it's like based on people's experience, it's going to be true or not.
Right.
But one of the things that you mentioned is the fact that there is an absolute truth when it comes to dating. And I'm trying to remember what it was, but I remember it blew my mind when you told me. So would you mind if you just went into that a little bit?
The absolute truth.
So when it comes to most relationships, and you can actually extrapolate the best way to raise children this way, when it comes to relationships, long-term relationships, I'm not talking about, a sexual fling or a one-night stand or something that's understood that it's primarily going to be just in the sexual realm. When it comes to long-term relationships, women, heterosexual, cisgendered women, to be exact, want to feel secure in a relationship, whether it's financial, spiritual, physical, like we mentioned earlier, a guy who can looks like they can protect their woman, or financial, preferably all four. Regardless of where you lie on the feminist spectrum, the majority of cisgendered heterosexual women prefer a guy who can give a sense of security in a relationship. But men, on the other hand, we need to feel useful. I think a lot of men need to feel that utilitarian aspect of themselves in a relationship. You see a lot of men kind of putting up, working two jobs so their wife can stay home with their children. And even though a lot of men in the previous generation, my dad's generation, had their fathers, didn't really see a lot of their fathers growing up because the father was always work. I remember I was being at my sister's house 15, maybe even more years ago, and my young nephew was up late one night crying because he hadn't seen his father in 3 days. The father had two jobs. He was trying to work to pay for the house, to pay for the food, so my sister can stay home and take care of the kids. And my little nephew was crying late one night, saying, "I have to go look for Dad. He's lost."
Aww.
Yeah. That broke my heart. And so you see a lot of men, over time, over history, kind of sacrificing a lot, because A, it's for their family, but also B, that is instilled and evolved in us ever since the agricultural revolution 10,000 years ago. It's instilled in us this innate need to feel useful. I need to provide for my family. Now, here's the interesting thing, and here's where it gets really, really interesting. Is this predicated upon love, or is this predicated upon ego, or is it both? The man's ego, since at least the cognitive revolution 30,000 years ago, has been a driving force in the advancement of humanity in every phase of humanity. You see, well, that family has this. Oh, I need to do that. Or my mother needs that, so I'm going to go do that. And so, in fact, you see cave paintings on the wall. It's always of a guy. It's never of a woman killing the buffalo. And anthropologists will say, well, women didn't go hunting because there's no images of women killing buffalo on the cave paintings in ancient caves. And it's like, well, no, it's not that women didn't go hunting. It's that women didn't have the fucking ego to put themselves on the fucking wall doing that thing.
Oh, we hunted. Don't worry. We just didn't have to paint it or nothing.
Right. So.
Were you there, Dahlia? I knew you were older than me, but I didn't know you were that much older than me.
There's something in their lives they just won't get out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got the very last question. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's got so much juice in this episode. We're gonna end on it. All right, Alec, ask it. Go ahead.
Do you think women would agree with what you had to say on this episode?
I don't think men and women really think about it. I think that some of the revelations we've seen in the post-feminist world are unintended consequences. And so I don't think a lot of women think about these things from a man's perspective. And women and men are starting to look at things from a woman's perspective. Hence the feminization of the male thought pattern, which is why a lot of men don't really approach women. And there's two things to this. Number one, I don't think women understand the economic reality that a man goes through. And one of the things we were talking about was the last two girls I dated, the first date we went on, I easily spent $200 on that first date. And the girl that I was dating, both women dating, kind of didn't really think twice about that. But when you break it down, understand what that means. The average man in America makes $40,000 a year after taxes. So that's it. So that could be anywhere from $25 to $30 an hour.
Yeah.
So at $200 for the date, I had to work 7 hours to be able to afford to take that woman out on that date. That's 7 hours away from doing what I want to do, which is sip Mai Tais with Playboy bunnies on some tropical beach somewhere. No, I had to go work. I had to work 7 hours with a boss that is a complete fucktard. I had to work 7 hours with coworkers I don't really like. 7 hours with clients that are just idiots. I had to work 7 hours to be able to afford to take this girl to go get a meal. So I think men need to appreciate the time and effort that women go through to get ready for the date. But at the same time, when it comes to paying for the date, I've already invested 7 hours into you before I even pick you up.
Oh, shit.
So these idiot women out there who say it's the thought that counts, not the cost, you fucking pay for the date. Okay? You try fucking paying for it. See how far that'll get you.
Yeah, and we ain't ordering, and men ain't gonna order salad, I can tell you that.
So on the other hand, men kind of don't understand what it is that women have to go through when kind of judging who's going to be the right mate. We've seen for hundreds of years men kind of taking advantage of women's intentions, which has predominantly been for a relationship and or marriage, and men just very, very callously use and abuse that. And so now that women are getting a certain kind of economic validity, all of a sudden they can pick and choose more so than they have in the past who gets into a relationship with them and who gets in their pants.
Yeah.
But one of the great things that I found, you guys remember the Barbie movie?
Which
I
movie?
haven't seen it, but
The
I
Barbie
know
movie?
that. I haven't seen it yet.
What is it called? Barter?
The Barbie movie.
Oh, Barbie. I didn't finish it. Nope.
Yeah. Go watch it. In it, America Ferrera makes this grand speech about how difficult it is to be a woman, expectations, and how impossible it is, and all this other stuff. And a lot of women, especially in the feminist world, will say, "Oh, that's exactly true." But every man who saw that movie, who saw that speech, was like, well, just change the verbiage around. Instead of being feminine, I have to be strong. Instead of being petite, I need to be masculine. America Ferrera, in that speech, laid out what women go through. But what they don't realize is that's exactly what men go through. Men go through the exact same thing. It's just in a different way. And so men watching what feminists are doing, which is starting to complain about society, rightly so, about what's going on in society. Whereas men have just kind of, given a stiff upper lip, kind of dealt with it over years. Now we're like, oh, we can complain about this too? This is great. This is extraordinary. And that never would have happened if not for feminism.
Bloody feminism and their Shark Week.
It's a double-edged sword, definitely.
Dahlia.
Sorry. Just comedic relief, really.
No, I mean.
Sorry.
I appreciate it. I like it.
No, I know. It was just the fact that you said Shark Week and I knew what you meant by that.
You emotional human beings. I cannot believe it. It is now an hour and 30 minutes. Do you think women would agree with your outlook on dating? This is such a fully loaded episode. So many of you guys showed up. Isaiah Galarza, do you have any last words for us?
Somebody said something. The one who said, it's not about the cost, it's about the thought. She retorted something. That's not what I meant. You have to understand, when it comes to men, since we're paying for everything, it weighs very heavily on us.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s, a girl wanted to go out. Sometimes I wouldn't take her out because I couldn't afford to do that. And then other times it caused me to be more creative and be like, well, we're going to go to the park. I'm going to make a picnic and I'm going to read you poetry. And I've had
Monopoly, Operation, Uno, Goldfish, half-ass version of poker. No, I don't know.
So what this girl said, the second thing she said, it was the next thing she said. It was, she said something about, that's not what I meant. But the cost is the cost. It doesn't matter what you think or what your intention was. For a man, no money, no honey. If I don't have the money to take a girl out, well, we're not going out. And that's going to change only when women start asking men out on dates, which does not look like it's going to happen. Despite all of the advances of feminism, 99% of women will never ask a man out.
Ooh, I'm more than willing to help pay for the date if the guy is willing to take me out.
All right. I think you should tell your man that, especially if it's a first date. Tell him, hey, look, let's go Dutch on our first date. I guarantee you she will never do that.
Dutch roast coffee? No?
Maybe. No. Now, you see the TikTok girls who will say, I do not go on coffee dates.
Oh.
Have you seen that movement? Girls are doing this too. Yeah.
No.
Girls are saying, don't take me to Cheesecake Factory. I don't do Chili's, you know. And some girls will refuse to date if it's a coffee date. So
coffee dates are cute and they're affordable.
Interesting. That's your damn red flag.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a Woke Wellness Wednesday. Who doesn't like Cheesecake Factory? I love Cheesecake Factory. That menu is ridiculous. Like the amount of opinions that I have. Oh my God, this was a fully loaded episode. You guys.
The banana cheesecake is the best.
Cheesecake Factory. This was Dalia Campbell, Alex Rebel, and your native Hollywood filmmaker and the brand extraordinaire, Isaiah Galarza. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Oh, for the future, we're doing a 3-part series. Did you want to tell them a little bit more or what? Or no?
Yes. So we are continuing this series. What you got today is you got a little bit of the man's point of view when it comes to dating. From yours truly. And the thing is the fact that, here's the thing. We know there is more than just a man's point of view. So next week, we're having we are having a female on.
Don't announce her yet. We don't know.
A female.
It's still unknown.
We're having a female on to give a little bit more perspective on the female point of view when it comes to dating, not just in LA, but in general. And just so you guys have a little bit more information to go off of. Because it's not exactly fair if you're just hearing the one side when there are 2 sides out there. So this is the first episode, but with more to come. So please join back next week as we continue this series.
Sweet.
That's right. Grab your brew and hoodie. Stay woke or not. My Joe DiMaggio's and Marilyn Monroe's. This was Isaiah Galarza, Alec Rebel, and Dalia Turnbull right here in the now. Stay woke or not.